Hello and welcome to Church at Home with Rachel for Feel Good Friday on the 31st of May. I know I said it yesterday, but oh my heavens, did May ever go quickly? It feels like life is just flying by. This is why I have to live to be at least 120 years old. There's just too much work to do, too much fun to see, too many books to read, too much music to listen to, too many people to have coffee with to die any earlier. That's the way I figure it. Anyway, today for Feel Good Friday, I really would like to invite you to pay attention to the little things. Um, Yesterday, I got into work early and we got into the cathedral early. I wasn't the first person here. Nick, our custodian, was, and he'd sent a note to Cheryl, who is amazing. She's our the glue that holds our cathedral and diocesan offices together. And he'd shared a picture of, we have a little shed. So when you come up toward the cathedral, there's a little cloister. It's beautiful, little space between the buildings that's naturally quiet, and the birds are in there, and we have some animals. And of course, being where we are in downtown Brandon and the area that we have, there are often extras to be found. Um, Yesterday morning, there was a tourniquet found at the bottom of the stairs where somebody had probably been trying to help themselves through a difficult time, sitting on the steps of the cathedral, where they really can't be seen from the street. There was a shirt and a pair of shorts in the garden, and I'm wondering if I'd taken a closer look, if they would have been covered in blood because somebody had shattered the door. We have a little shed that the door is facing the cathedral away from the road. It's like a U-shaped area, like almost a box with a walkway through it. And nothing had been stolen, but the window was shattered, and I'm afraid somebody might have hurt themselves doing that. Um, but I came in and Nick was in the building, but no one else was here. And I really needed a cup of coffee early in the morning. So I sat down, I poured, we've got one of those Bun Master where you put the filter in, the basket in with the coffee, and you make sure that your pot to receive the coffee is underneath before you pour the water in because it keeps a hot reservoir. So it immediately starts pouring coffee. We have this wonderful thermal thing that you don't turn the burner on because it keeps it hot itself. And it sits, got a tiny little hole in the water, the coffee just drips down. Lots of details, sorry about that, but that's the point of today's talk, details. But I sat down in this comfortable wingback chair just to, can't function until I've had my second coffee. Rob and I went for breakfast yesterday morning at Humpty's for for eggs and toast and bacon and coffee. So I'd only had one, and I was sitting waiting for the coffee. It was raining outside and kind of a dreary day, trying to find the beauty in that. The beauty of the moisture is incredible. It's a miracle, but just sort of, yeah, it's a May day and it's kind of chilly out. It's raining and nobody here to talk to yet. And I was sitting and I was sort of eye level with the drip from the filter for the basket for the coffee into this coffee pot. I was watching the stream of it, and it's so steady. It just completely equal. It never gets bigger, it never gets smaller until the water is almost through the basket, through the filter, and then it would drip and drip and drip. And then the dripping slowed down until the droplet of coffee would elongate. And it was like it would just wait till it got so heavy that it would fall. And then you could see another one starting up and just getting, and slower until the last one probably took a good 45 seconds for it to actually drop. And I got thinking about how often do we waste time by going fast? I mean, that sounds ridiculous, but how often do we hurry, and then recognize that we've really missed out on things, or we really haven't done everything we need to do? It seems absolutely ludicrous, doesn't it? It's like the tortoise and the hare. Remember that old story, that old fable? It may even be an Aesop's fable, I can't remember, about the tortoise and the hare. They're gonna go and have a race, and the hare is absolutely certain it can win because it's faster, and the tortoise just does its thing, and guess which one crosses the finish line first? The tortoise. Sometimes we need to slow down and pay attention to the details. Paying attention to that coffee today, watching that drip, was more simply than watching the drip. Now, first of all, I am fascinated by things like that. Like, what is it about water that makes it elongate like that? Like, I know there's physics and science to it, but which I I I I remember reading about in like grade 13 physics. Didn't read it well enough for it to sink into my head completely, but I know that there's words around that, and there's physical rules that dictate how that works and things like that. So that was fascinating to me. But then also in that, I realized that I was not just sitting in the wingback chair in the break room at the cathedral. I was sitting on my grandpa's kitchen chair, the chair in his kitchen, watching the pot that my grandma would have of the metal pot with the silver spout. I think it was like a red or a gold, that forest gold or whatever it was, that um, goldenrod gold color that sort of came out in the 70s, that fridges and stoves were made like that. It was either that or a red, and I think my mom had the red, so my grandma's was probably that golden color. But with the silver spout and then the plastic handle, and then it would have a lid that would pop on and settle in, and you'd turn it so it wouldn't fall off. But before that, you had to put the cone on top and pour the boiling water over it, and it would drip into the pot. And just sitting and watching the coffee pouring, streaming through, and then slowing down and dripping into the carafe took me back to that time. And in my memory, or maybe it's just my imagination, it was a rainy day at the farm. And for whatever reason, I was up early enough to sit and watch this coffee being made, which chances are means this is my imagination rather than a memory. But it took me back to a place, the sitting and paying attention to details in the office, in the break room at the cathedral, took me back into a place and a time that was a beautiful place and time for me, a place of good memories, a place of formation and learning and recognizing the importance of elders. I wouldn't have said it that way at the time, but looking back, the wisdom I gleaned from my grandparents, who not once sat down to say to us, now here is a lesson you need to learn about life. They simply told stories. And when we listened, they sank in and we learned almost by osmosis, like parables, you could say, of learning about life's lessons, about family and friends, about a work ethic, about all of the necessary things in life that happened for me because I sat down and paid attention and listened, and sometimes wasn't even realizing I was paying attention. I was absorbing the details around me. And that all came to me today. What an incredible gift for me today. That all came to me because I simply sat down in dire need of my second cup of coffee to say, and I sat down and I just watched in the silence. I listened to the sound of that coffee streaming and dripping, and I watched the stream of the coffee and the dripping of those droplets, and then allowed myself to go back to a place, or to go ahead to a place of great learning and great strength and great memories, but also a place that I have come to appreciate so much in my life, all because of a detail. So this weekend, today for Feel Good Friday, and this weekend, I encourage you, I challenge you to think about the details, to pay attention to the small things. And maybe you might find that you get a lot more out of slowing down and paying attention to the details than you would have if you ripped and raced through your life this weekend to discover that you don't remember any of it because you were moving so fast you couldn't see it. So slow down and watch the drip of the coffee today. You might be amazed at where it takes you. Have a great day. God bless. I'll see you on Sunday for church or for Gospel on the Go, and Monday for Church at Home with Rachel.